All right, what's going on, guys? Tremaine here, the most disciplined day trader on YouTube. I want to do a little bit of a trade breakdown slash quick teaching as far as top-down analysis, applying a weekly forecast that you may have drawn up for yourself going into the new trading week. So before we get into it, I just want to roll this clip. This is a snippet of the weekly forecast I shared with our Discord members Sunday night. So we're going to watch this for a few seconds and then we'll come back. I'm allowing for NASDAQ to trade down, okay? If you're thinking in terms of weekly power of three, okay, that's the manipulation, trading down. I'm allowing for the sell stops here to get taken and the sell stops here to get taken. It's perfectly normal, it's perfectly acceptable for us to trade down into the inversion fair value gap. It's normal and acceptable for us to trade down into the sell side here and the sell side here because that fits the narrative on the daily chart. Okay, you can find setups going short into these levels and find setups going long into your levels on the daily. Small inefficiency here on a 15-minute chart. Ideally, I want to see that stay open. Why? Because it's resting in the lower half of that inversion fair value gap on the daily chart. So if we breach that, if we trade to it and through it, then my thought process is we're likely to take out this low, and then I'll have to drop back to a neutral bias, wait for more information to see what we want to do. But as long as we're working the upper half of the inversion fair value gap on the daily chart, my focus is buy side. Let's just call it 20,500. All right, so that is what I shared with our community over the weekend. So we're all on the same page of what we're looking for going into this trading week. So now, here's that inversion fair value gap on the daily chart I was mentioning. Okay, our bias for the week so far, as long as we stay above this low, is bullish. So inversion fair value gap, that's what I'm looking at. Why am I choosing this one? Well, we used it as resistance here to take us lower. And now that we're above it, I want to see it be used as its inverse function, meaning I want it to be used as support. And my focus is the buy side. Okay, these two candlestick highs on the daily chart is just a little too clean. So, same levels. Only thing different is I'm adding horizontal rays. So I have the high of the daily inversion fair value gap. I have the consequent encroachment, and I have the low. Okay, it just keeps the chart a little cleaner, just using the lines. And let's go straight to a 15-minute chart. Now, there's the daily inversion fair value gap. Now, how do you frame a bias? I get a lot of questions about bias and weekly forecast. Like, how do you come up with a bias for the week, a bias for the day? It starts here. One PD array that I'm looking at is the inversion fair value gap. That's it. Transpose it down. Okay, check. Now, on a 15-minute chart, what do I see in here that can possibly be used as support that rest in, this is important, that rest in the upper half of the inversion fair value gap? If we're bullish, if I'm expecting higher prices, which I am, I'm looking for this as a draw on liquidity for the time being. If I'm bullish, the general rule of thumb is always I want to find support in the upper half of PD arrays. It could be the upper half of a breaker, the upper half of an order block, the upper half of a fair value gap, the upper half of a wick. Okay, any PD array that I'm looking at the time, I want to find support in the upper half, and I do not want to see us work in the lower half, ideally if we're bullish. So if we take that logic, what can possibly offer support that lies in the upper half of that daily inversion fair value gap? That fair value gap right there, which is why I told the group it's better to see this remain open. Because if we trade to that fair value gap, what are we doing? Well, we're breaching midpoint of that inversion fair value gap on the daily chart. Is that bullish? Not necessarily. So that's why when we're trading up here in this region, I said it's fine if we take out this low. It's perfectly fine if we take out this low because those sell side liquidity pools are resting in the upper half of the inversion fair value gap. So if we drop down into that, that's not killing any narrative for me. We can still be bullish if we see that. And it's actually better because we're working in a discount, knocking out traders who have held long positions. This is a perfect scenario here, okay? So fair value gap here, I'm looking at this one specifically because it's in the upper half of the daily inversion fair value gap. So if we're trading down into this, right away my mindset is, I got it. I'm looking for higher prices. I'm only interested in higher prices because this is like the last line of defense for me for the market to go higher. Anything beneath this price level, then I think we're bearish and I have to drop back to a neutral bias. 5-minute chart here. Now, I want you to see where we've opened up. Okay, this is today's trading. Midnight opening price. We dropped down. So we're in a deep discount in relative to the midnight open. Okay, if you trade Tremaine's model, I had that video teaching on my YouTube channel. It panned out to perfection. Okay, buying beneath the 8:30 open, beneath the midnight open, targeting buy side, leaving runners to the midnight open. Okay, yes, I still trade the model. I didn't forget about it. Panned out beautifully. So we trade down into the 15-minute fair value gap. Notice a few things here. We failed to reach a midpoint of that 15-minute fair value gap. Again, that's here. So we failed to reach midpoint, and we failed to reach midpoint of that daily inversion fair value gap. So what was the general rule of thumb? If we're bullish, we want to find support in the upper half of PD arrays. Are we working in the upper half here? Yep. Look at the grand scheme of things. Are we working in the upper half of that daily inversion fair value gap? Yep. Are we in a deep discount in relative to the midnight open and the 8:30 open? Yep. Have we ran on any buy side and this drop down? No. So traders who are short, what are they doing? Trailing their stops here, trailing their stops here, trailing their stops, equal highs here, trailing their stops down, trailing their stops down, equal highs here. So I'm not interested in taking anything short, and we're in a perfect scenario for higher prices given what we wanted to see on Sunday. And here's the execution on paper. Okay, I took a few losses this morning on my live account, looking for higher prices in this region and in this region here. Came all the way back down, 15-minute fair value gap. I was done on my personal account, so here's a paper execution. I did ended up trading my live account during lunch and had my largest trade ever to bring me back into the green. I'll probably play that right here or something if you're interested in that. But here we go. Fair value gap after trading into the 15-minute inefficiency, macro 950 to 1010. There's your entry. And you can trust going long here because we've already shown an unwillingness to trade to midpoint of the 15-minute imbalance. We know that we don't want to see us trade to the lower half of that daily inversion fair value gap. So everything's aligned here. Time, price, buy side liquidity pools way too clean, relative equal highs, too smooth. So fair value gap here, I'm not in front of my charts at the time of this entry. Okay, we're actually still streaming and looking at this, whatnot. So here, down close candle, 2 consecutive down close candles. I'm looking at the high. That's my entry. Buying 2. Taking 1 off at the buy side, clean, obvious liquidity pool formed after 7 a.m. For those in the Discord, that's your New York ATM model. Sell side taken, buy side, bread and butter setup there. And the last contract on saved for the high of the daily inversion fair value gap. I'll go back one more time. That's this price level here. There. So that is an example of top-down analysis, taking a PD array on a daily chart, having narrative, I want buy side, I want to sustain the upper half of the inversion level. You drop down to a 15-minute chart, what is resting in the upper half of that daily inversion fair value gap, obvious fair value gap with sell side resting just above it, sell side taken, 15-minute fair value gap traded to, all occurring in the upper half of that daily level. Does this fair value gap stay open? Yes, all of that is bullish. Now we get to intraday price action. We're below the midnight open, below the 8:30 open, obvious discount. I'm only looking for longs today. Fair value gap entry, all during the macro. Beautiful delivery. So hopefully you found this one insightful. Hopefully you learned something. I can't remember what day I'm live, or not live trading, what day I'm tape reading on YouTube again. I think it's next week. I could be wrong, but the monthly schedule for May is posted in my community tab. And for those who aren't in the Discord, you guys can catch me tape reading on YouTube on whatever day that is. So love y'all, man. Discord members, we're back tape reading tomorrow morning at 9:30. All right, peace.